Micah, I'm glad you're here. You're from Cherry Street Baptist Church. How long have you been there?
I've been there 9 years.
9 years. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a good number. So coming up on 10.
Yeah.
Is that like, do you get a
It's
watch
flown
or something?
by.
Do you get like a watch?
Yeah. It's like, how did the last 10 years go by? You know, it's like
I know.
my kids have grown up there. And So it's been really good.
It's so cool to be in a church that long, and I'm thankful. I'm looking for my guys to be there that long too. I look for those guys. I mean, whatever the Lord wants to do, but to have guys that are there that are faithful. I mean, there's just a lot of effectiveness that has happened. And you know what? In those 10 years, there's kind of been a shift. That's what I want to talk to you today. There's kind of been a shift in the way that ministry in terms of our services happens, and that is we're all televangelists now.
Thanks to COVID.
COVID kind of pushed us all probably where we were going anyway. It just sped it up where we're making our services available. And you and I were talking before we recorded this, and we both kind of were saying that it really seems like people come to our services via a screen before they do showing up in the parking lot. And that have you seen that to be true?
Yeah, what we found, of course, we find stuff out through personal visits as well as communication card when that people fill out in the service, and we ask how they hear about us. And what we're finding more and more and more the case is that they've watched us online for many weeks, in cases up to a couple of months, before they ever come and physically come on campus to the church.
As the guy who I know, I've been to the Cherry Street a number of times. You're the one up front leading the music,
right? And
I have the same kind of thing. I'm preaching. I play guitar sometimes. I'm trying to give that away myself, but there's that whole kind of pain point where that training the next generation of people that we're always looking to train new people, get more people involved in the streaming, in the presentation software, managing that, the soundboards. How do you recruit? How do you find people to do that? What's worked for you guys in that? And then how do you onboard them and train them? Like, tell me what have you found that works in that area?
Okay. Well, one of the, I guess if there was a concerted effort that we were making for recruiting, there was a few years ago, we did an event at our church, and in fact, I can't even remember what we called it, but it was actually we called it the ministry. Let me start that over again.
You're fine.
We did an event a few years ago at our church, and we called it the Ministry Expo.
Okay.
And it was a Sunday night service. We had a dinner in our gym, and then around the perimeter of the gym we had booths that represented the different areas of ministry in our church. And what we did is we had the meal. We challenged our people to get involved, and leading up to that, we really recruited and encouraged new people to come to that. So it's an opportunity for people to serve. And sometimes because we have a tendency sometimes to be in our own echo chamber and looking at the same people. Pastor calls it going to the same well over and over again. Right. And sometimes it opened our eyes to the people who were willing, that we weren't even looking for, to do those things.
Sometimes when you do an all-call from the platform, who you get is not who you need.
Right, exactly. And there's reasons why we don't do that, unless it's a very, very rare case that we would do that. The
expo idea kind of isn't quite as bad as that. You still have the opportunity to then connect with and direct people. Right. Yeah. But personal invitation I found to be
absolutely.
But finding those people can be difficult.
Yeah. So another thing that we do is we challenge the current volunteers that are running, like for example our media teams and our sound guys that handle the live stream and the live projection in the auditorium, and then the sound. That all has to do with us delivering our message. Right. And so just as an instrumentalist or something like that, we look for people that might have skills in those areas that can develop those things and help us take things up a notch. So really what we start with is we ask people to find a replacement for themselves. People get sick, and we challenge those people, hey, you need to have somebody that you're training that knows how to do everything that you know how to do in case there's a time in an emergency you can't be here. Right. And so that's kind of the first window, and then we really challenge the people that work in those men. the best recruiters you have are your volunteers.
Right.
You know, the best recruiters I have for people to join the choir is choir members. And it works the same way with our media team.
One thing you mentioned earlier too, as we talked, you were talking about how that when you're onboarding new people, you don't throw them into Sunday morning,
right?
Unsupervised.
Yeah.
You use them in other. Talk a little bit about that.
So one of the first things we do is just observation. You know, and we will ask somebody.
Have the new recruit there watching.
Right on a Sunday morning when the most action's happening.
Right.
You know, then we want them to observe that and ask as many questions as they want. You know. And then we would gradually move them over to, like for a sound guy, you know, really where you learn the most in doing sound is the preparation leading to a service.
Right. Practice.
And so we will encourage them to come to a sound check and see how we actually prepare, you know, in leading up to a service, because that's where the most work is done.
And you can make mistakes in there, and it doesn't feel as high cost.
Yeah. But it's an opportunity for them to get some hands-on experience outside of a service, and really ask even more questions and get more in depth.
We were just in a meeting with here at the Baptist Church Ministry Network meeting in 2024, and we were in a service where Pastor Steve Harney spoke.
Oh yeah,
and he was talking about getting kids involved.
Absolutely.
And just how that when kids serve, they tend to that tends to be a habit they form, and they keep serving, and that's what you're looking for.
Yeah. We
just had Sunday night a student led service, so our whole Sunday night was taken over by the teenagers. And I as I'm thinking about the whole issue of this, the sound booth, the presentation software, all that. This past Sunday night, we had a 6th grade boy running our presentation software, and I was thinking he's really doing great. And the thing too is, like, when you have like the student led service, it's kind of when the kid sings off key. No one cares. It's cute.
You know exactly.
I mean? But it gives them the chance to grow, and eventually they'll stop singing off key, and like you want them to sing, you know. And same thing, the presentation, you know, the clicking from one side to the next didn't go quite as fast or whatever, but like everybody's like, but that's cool because Isaac's doing it, and you know, that's a great thing. So
through a lot of that and bringing kids in and bringing new volunteers, we really strive to set them up, and really we should all strive to set them up for success early. We want them to have early wins. So it's using wisdom and what you give them to do, where they and where if we give them something extremely complicated, you know, they're going to get very discouraged because they may have messed something up. So we really try to set them up for success. For example,
that's so smart.
One of the first spots in the media team that we will recruit people for is lights. You know, we have a pre-programmed lighting that a lot of the scenes are already set, and not that we're trying to put together a production, but if you're showing a video, then typically you would want the lights more dim, and or when we have productions, our sound guy needs an extra hand. You know, so we will use that as a window. Hey, come sit in the sound booth. We need somebody to, you know, to push a button on the light when we tell you to. You know, and that's and you could get a middle schooler or high schooler to do that, and they feel like they're contributing to it. You know, and that's an opportunity. That's
so good. When it comes to we were talking a little bit about you know, training for people, and what have you found to be like when you think about, okay, we got to get these people trained on all these different software, hardware, all the different things. What consideration goes into that in terms of just preparing people to do the job?
So some of the software that we use, some of the manufacturers produce their own training content. For example, with the music software we use called Planning Center, the designer of that software has a lot of training. But another thing that we will consider when we have to purchase a new piece of equipment, we will go and there's a lot of times we'll obviously we're going to do a ton of research before we buy something, and we look for things that are possibly widely used. That there's a community online through YouTube or other social media where we can send our people to and say, hey, you need to watch this series of videos on this, and it'll kind of. I
remember we were looking at hardware, and I remember calling you and talking to you about what you knew about stuff, and we kind of settled on the Behringer.
Yeah, that's what we did too.
Because
for our soundboard,
right.
Yeah,
that's a piece of hardware that's widely used, and there's a lot of video training, YouTube training, that kind of thing.
It may not be the top echelon of quality,
right?
But
it's obviously
but it's a very capable. It's and there's a lot of things like that go into consideration when we purchase a new piece of equipment, but also the user friendliness of people knowing how to use it and the support community that's out there.
Yeah, that's really, really smart.
Yeah.
If older Micah could go train younger Micah in this area, what would you teach him?
Really, to learn as much as you can about technology, and to stay on top of it, because what we're learning now is technology can be a hindrance, but it can also be used as a blessing. And not everything. I was raised in an environment where we didn't use technology. It was kind of, you didn't do those things, and just the church I was raised in and things like that. But now people are becoming more open to it. For example, one of the things is AI technology. And we've had a staff discussion, and if you're not having a current discussion on how that's being used in your church, or how it should be used, or how it shouldn't be used in your church, and you need to have that conversation and set some standards for your staff to be able to use that ethically and
to go to the path of ridiculous. The argument by the ridiculous. All of us have adopted the car as a technology.
Right. Yeah.
Where no one's like, oh no, I don't use well, there are some, I guess they're called the Amish.
Right. Yeah.
We use buggies and buggy whips, and there's a productivity level that if you don't adopt a certain technology, you get moved past. On the other hand, if all you're doing is studying, it's like all you're doing is buying tools and looking at them and shining them up, and looking, and not actually going out and using the tool to make a difference. So there's that tension you're managing of how much do I need to know, and how much is this a waste of time and being infatuated with. And as someone who has all the toys, that's something we all have to think about.
I think at the root of your question is, what would I tell myself? Is learn as much as I can about that, and not be afraid of it. And because really what we should be asking ourselves is, number one, how does this all come back to the gospel? And we don't want to do anything to hinder that. But at the same time, if it's something that can reach a broader audience, help us reach a broader audience. For example, we completely changed perspective. Websites have completely changed over the last 20 years. Going from static content to content that you're constantly adding to it. And you have to do that in order for people to find you. We had a company that came alongside us to work with us that helped us understand that our audience is not just the people that come in to our church on Sunday. It's not even the people who find us that have moved into town and are searching for us. There's another group that don't even know what they're looking for. They don't know that they're searching. It's the person that is looking
for church, but they're not they're not typing in church. They're typing in,
why am I so anxious? Or where is their hope? Where is there things like that? And absolutely
raising kids.
So we have fingers out there when people search for anxiety, or when they search for and they're in our area, they can find us. There's ways in there that help them find the help and the hope that they're looking for.
So your website isn't just a brochure for your ministries; it's actually a place to get help.
It serves multiple audiences.
That's
our
awesome.
Congregation, those people who are moving in, and then those people who don't even know that they're looking.
The church that doesn't do the online streaming, they're not doing the recording, the audio stuff, or they're settling for less than excellent production value. They really are either invisible or not really representing the Lord well.
There's
not
church
to be mean, but that's a hard It's a hard thing.
And there's church friends. You and I both have friends that are in that. And where they may not have the volunteer structure, in order to accomplish some of those things, but with very little time and effort, and really very little resources with how that stuff has come along for you to have some kind of an online presence.
You can look good without a lot of money.
Yeah. And it's very easy for you to have the level of website or online presence where it's not just static content, but it's you regularly contributing things.
Right.
Even if you don't have a video production team.
Right.
It's something that you could get on there and constantly upload content, written word, a blog. We call it a blog today.
Right.
Where the search engines say content is king. Search engines view your worthiness based on the content that you have on
literally even the word count, the number of words even on your site.
Right.
Micah, we're doing this. This is going to go on the Baptist Church Ministry Network website as a article. One of the great things about our network is that when people join the network, they can access the directory of the members of that network and then find out who those members are, not just based on their location or their name, but also by what they do in ministry. I know you're a network member.
Yes.
And you have made yourself available in the area of music and sound and all that other stuff.
Right.
So if you're watching this video and you want to connect with, you don't want to connect with me on this subject. You want to connect with Micah, because I call Micah all the time and ask him questions. So if you want help, or if you have needs, or you want advice,
absolutely.
Can they call you?
They can call me. They can call me. My information is on the church website, or you can look on the BCMN network, Cherry Street Baptist Church. And love to help you with any questions that you might have. I currently help missionaries do their websites and things like that. So if you have questions, if you don't really know, if you have a website, or maybe you just need some guidance or help. Not that I have all the answers, but over the course of the last few years, we've learned so much about how our online presence, our website, all that stuff has become the front door of our church.
And it's amazing how that's connected to the sound booth.
Absolutely. It's connected.
That used to be totally separate arenas.
Anything that we communicate.
Right.
And that's what we tell all of our our team, our media team, is it's all about the message that we are communicating, whether it's live in the auditorium or whether it's somebody online watching. And we want the gospel to be as clear as possible.
Get it out of the building.
That's right.
That's it.
That's right.
Micah, you've been a help to me a lot. I appreciate
our friendship. And there's times we bounced a lot of things off of each other. So,
That was good.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for meeting with me.
You bet. Thank you.
All right.